my time at the hotel. It's just wrong. How can you not see that this is wrong? Hey friends, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, it is my dream to be an entertainer. So if you are at all entertained by this video, please like it and consider subscribing for more content. So first let me set up the stage, the backstory, okay? November 2006 in Savannah, Georgia, I started working at GameStop where I met Roxy Hero. And I was immediately pretty much given key holder position because I showed myself to be dependable, and the previous key holder, or I think it was the assistant manager, actually quit. Since then, I had always been vying for the assistant manager position, but there was a freeze. There was a hiring freeze or a promotional freeze type of thing, so they couldn't give that out even if, they deemed me worthy. So I worked there for a while, no problems. And I just kept, okay, well, maybe next month, right? So around mid 2007, so that's what I'm saying, I think it was around May. I don't know why, but Roxy Hero left temporarily. He was not working there between 2 weeks to a month. I'm not sure what his side of the story is, but I will ask him to comment down below, and I will pin his response on why he left. I remember he went to, they had like the annual conference for store managers in Las Vegas, but then there was also a time where he actually quit, but then they asked him to come back. So he'll have to tell me why. I can't remember now the details of why he left. But during that time, I then was given more duties by the area manager because at that time we didn't really have, they were still working out the whole store manager thing. And so he was stepping in, the area manager was stepping in. And so I was doing definitely all of the work of the assistant store manager. And I was doing one or two things that maybe more of a store manager should do, but because there was that interim area, it was kind of complicated. So I said, hey, I'm showing you my grit and, you need the help. I'm already doing the job of assistant store manager. I was opening every single day. I was doing all of the paperwork and everything. Basically the only thing I wasn't doing was doing the scheduling, the actual who comes in at what time. But if someone couldn't come in, I'd fill in and everything too. I was doing my duties. And so I said, hey, look, give me the promotion and the raise that I deserve. Give me the title for the job I'm already doing, or I'm out of here. Because my loyalty to Rox D Hero, he's gone now. So you do what I want, or I'm leaving, right? And it's like that. I wasn't asking for anything, crazy or whatever. I wasn't asking to be the store manager. I was just saying, I'm already doing assistant store manager duties. Please give me that title and the raise so I can afford to go move back to college. And so, but they're like, sorry, hands are tied, nothing we can do. So I said, okay, here's my 2 weeks notice, I'm leaving. So that lines up where this happens. Just so you know, I was only at the hotel for 3 days. That was long enough, trust me. Those 3 days were in at the same time as my 2 weeks notice. So I gave them my notice and I found the job and I started working all within my 2 weeks. I remember because the very last day, I had the day off from GameStop. I was working at the hotel and I got a call from the area manager and they said, okay, we meet your bluff. We will give you the raise and the claim for assistant store manager. And at that time I was already planning on leaving the hotel because I hated it. So I was like, good. And I came back. And so I stayed at GameStop until I left to go back to Athens. And then ironically, Hiro also came back as the store manager. So I was assistant store manager to his store manager. But while we had that break off at working at GameStop, we came out publicly as being, in a relationship. Because I know before that we were kind of low key about it. So I always thought it was hilarious that he never gave me my raise or my promotion just because I was dating him. I never got it from him. I got it from his boss, the area manager. So there was no favoritism there. He couldn't give me the job. And, so he did hire me initially, but whatever. So that's the story, the back of why I started at a hotel. Okay. I was fighting for my claim to GameStop. Honestly, I did not think that they were going to call my bluff or not call my bluff, because call your bluff, because it wasn't a bluff. I did leave. But anyway, I didn't think that they would honor my request. So that was a surprise. But to me, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. So my time at the hotel. This occurred in Savannah, Georgia. It was technically in Pooler. It is off of Highway 80. And now it is Baymont. Back when I was there, I don't remember the name of the hotel. I apologize. It might have been a not Micro Center. That Micro Center is one of the only electronics places I never worked. But anyway, yeah, so it was one of those like Embassy Econolodge. I'm not sure what it was called. And they have since rebranded and redesigned everything. But the building is the same and it's the same location. So I'll show you the same location. Just keep in mind, I'm not talking about this management. So don't sue me. I'm not talking about them. This is back in 2007, right? So this was many, many years ago. But yeah, so it's off of Continental Boulevard in Pooler, Georgia, which is it's like 4 minutes from Savannah Airport, and it's off of Highway 80. So as you're coming into Savannah, if you turn that right, it was right over there. So just to kind of give you an idea of it. I'm not sure why I initially applied. I did see, that they were hiring, and I was really good with client, customer satisfaction, client success, that kind of thing. That's kind of where I've always leaned towards. And so selling the products was like a byproduct. My whole thing was it was all about the customer service. So I thought I'd be great as, I was going to call it a hostess, that person at the table, at the front desk. And I got hired. I had my interview. And they were like, can you start next day? So I remember giving them my schedule because I was still, working at GameStop. I remember it being really weird, really rushed, feeling really awkward. So immediately I already had kind of a weird feeling, not like a bad feeling. I didn't feel unsafe. Dank is a good word. So the pictures I'm showing you of the atrium now it's reworked, redesigned, right? I can't think of the right word for that, but whatever. And so before, when I was there, it was like a burgundy maroon carpet all throughout, no hard places. There was a couch sitting area and the breakfast continental area right there. It was all right there, right in the main atrium where you book a room and everything and get your key. So it felt dark in there. And I think it's also because my interview was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I got the job and I had to start the next day. So I think it was also just like that. It was rushed. It felt very closed in, the windows weren't really bright. Even though we had one of those hotel doors, it still felt very dark in there. And I kind of missed, the atmosphere that I had been working at GameStop. So I was used to liking where I was working because there were always games you could read or what to look at and stuff. It was always really quiet in the hotel. So it was just a different vibe. And so I was speaking with my manager, and I just remember his wife's name was Pickle, which it tickled me. I know I shouldn't make fun of other people's names, so I apologize if it comes out rude. But her name was Pickle, and it's just an adorable name. I would think it more of a nickname, but yeah. So so she did all of the booking and stuff like that. I remember automatically the first, because again, I was only there for 3 days, and they were already disrespecting what I had asked because I wanted to work mornings. And my very second shift, I had 2 overnight shifts where you would work 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I had to work overnight, and I hated that. And I was like, can I just work mornings? But I guess because I was new, mornings are for the people that, do a better job. So I was there one day for training at a normal time where my manager was. But the other days I had to do the overnight shift, and I was working with a colleague who really did train me because my first day I only learned how to do the key card, the actual computer side of things. And so that part was decent, doing the actual booking them and stuff like that. It's there's nothing really complicated about that aspect. So why was this a bad place to work? Well, again, it felt kind of weird. just the location, which is a personal thing, right? So I probably would just not do well in a hotel because you don't have that really good communication with customers and clients, like the people who book. They don't want to talk to you unless there's a problem, which you hope there's no problem. They just want their keys and go, right? So there's really nothing that you can really kind of, just actually chat and stuff. So that was already like, I don't think it was a good place for me at that time. But I really felt it was sketchy. And again, this management is no longer there. This is no longer, Baymont or whatever, has nothing to do with it. So don't think anything bad of this place if you go to Savannah. I have no idea how it's run now. Just putting that out there. But the manager straight up told me that I was allowed to change the rates of the hotel rooms, and not because, oh, this weekend, like St. Patrick's Day is huge in Savannah. And so, oh, our rates suddenly balloon up. That wasn't it. It was if someone calls and is slightly rude to you, asking, if they're frazzled and they come off curt and rude to you, you can change the rate. So the rate might be $49 a night. You can bump it up to $89 without batting an eye. Obviously, I couldn't go too high. But yeah, they were like, if they sound nice and you think you like them or whatever, you can give them the $49 rate. So the control was under me. I was able to adjust as I saw fit, not as, this is the cost of this room. Also, there really wasn't paying attention to king size, queen, that kind of thing. I also really hated that they did make it a practice, and I think all hotels do this, but it just didn't seem right the way that we were doing it. You overbook. So you have 10 rooms, you book up to 20 people because people are going to drop out. And so I was like, well, what happens if they come and we are booked? And they're like, then we tell them we're booked. And I'm like, what's the point in reserving then if you could just be kicked out? Like, I don't know. It just did not feel good, right? Also, being in Savannah, it's a very touristy town, and we're right next to the airport and stuff. And so we would be asked a lot of, generic touristy questions that I already knew the answer to because I had been working on River Street. So I knew, Paula Deen's restaurant and all that kind of stuff. But we also had a trolley system in Savannah, and they had an agreement with the hotel that you could sell their tickets. And again, I can't remember the prices. And now, of course, it's been, sheesh, yeah, it's been more than 10 years. Math, right? That, like, let's say the ticket actually costs $10. So that's the money that we give to the trolley people. Well, we could sell it for $15 or $20 and personally pocket the money. They were not asking. The hotel didn't say, oh, hey, you have to give that to us. No. They need the $10 to give to the trolley people. And it was part of the perk of working there. I could upcharge and personally pocket that money. No, I don't believe I actually had to tell my manager how much money I got, which is illegal in terms of taxes, because even as a waiter and stuff like that, like in restaurants, they still have to know, I think, because you count up the stuff. I don't know. I was always a hostess, but it just doesn't seem that was all under the table. So that income was not taxed. It just doesn't feel right. Maybe it wasn't illegal, but it didn't feel right. It also felt really sketchy because, again, I came from a retail background where it was X amount of money, right? I hadn't yet worked at a Halloween City, but using Halloween City as an example, you could sometimes discount if things were like if pieces were missing because of how that company ran. It was only open for 3 months out of the year. And so it was, the products were passing hands, if they didn't get sold from last year. And so it was possible that the things were broken or costumes, was missing a big key piece. So as assistant store manager, that was just my thing. I had the rights. Actually, any of us really had the rights, but you could discount it because it was missing something. So instead of losing the entire, $40 and to wipe it out and say, no, we can't sell this, we could sell it, for half the price and at least get some revenue back. That makes sense. We were not upselling. We couldn't make things more costly. We could only decrease it for customer satisfaction. which is again my whole raison d'etre. And so this was very, very different, and it was going against everything in my in integrity, because it was only $10 a ticket, let's say. And I don't know, it could have been more than that. I think it was like $15 for this trolley ticket, because it was a tour. And so that's really fun, and that's how much it costs the trolley to operate. That makes sense. I'm selling these tickets for the trolley. Great. I don't care, like that. It's just the experience. You come here and it's like, hey, what's something fun to do? Oh yeah, you could ride the trolley. It'll give you a tour of the whole, area. It's really cool. So, I didn't have a problem selling the tickets as a bonus, but it was bothersome that I could raise the rate willy-nilly and just pocket that money. Yeah, I guess they were trying to say it's like commission type of a thing. I'm like, that's not commission. Commission would be like separating, like it's just wrong. It's just wrong. How can you not see that this is wrong? So the ticket pricing, as well as the rates, that just really did not sit well with me. That I can arbitrarily change rates as long as I don't go below what needs to be. I think, and it might have been more like, let's say the rooms, we had to have at least $49, for a night, but we were marking it up as like $69 normally. So because I think there was a little bit of a room that, like, if I felt bad, like if it was like a, single mom with 12 kids, I could mark it down to the 49. I couldn't go lower than what was the set price, but we always were a little bit above. And if I didn't like them, I could, and it really was that. If I didn't like you, I could charge you more. And so I just did not like that, and I didn't like the atmosphere already. As I said, that was a personal, issue of me. It wasn't necessarily the hotel, but already I just wasn't feeling great about that. And then they weren't respecting, how I wanted my schedule, and they didn't tell me when they hired me that I had to go in rotation, or it was, like, because if they had said, hey, for the first 3 months, we'll only give you days that you request off, but we won't give you times that you request. That would have made sense. They didn't say that. So I didn't know that I was being hired for overnight. I said, they said, which would you prefer? And I said mornings, and they just ignored that. So I was really disrespected there. They were disrespecting their clients. And then I was not really allowed to speak to the custodians. So if people needed extra towels or cleaning a room, that sort of thing, I basically sent like a ticket to that management. And then that was it. I never actually spoke to anyone who cleaned the rooms. I did have to, submit some of these requests, but then I had customers, or I don't know what you call them. Hotel guests. I guess you call them guests. Sorry, I only worked there 3 days. So yes, so the guests would come and they'd be like, hey, we ordered towels like 3 hours ago. And I'm like, I sent it in. But again, working overnight, I don't even think we had people on overnight. So it was like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, dude. I don't know. I don't know what they're busy with doing, but I had no way. I didn't even know their names. Like, I just called, I think it was a call, and I'd be like, hey, room 200 needs extra towels. I don't think it was submitted through the computer. To be honest, I can't really remember. I just remember I just submitted, but I didn't even know who I was talking to. I didn't know, other than, I guess I did know that someone picked up, but that was it. Like, I couldn't help in any way. And again, I am used to, even if that's not my job, you just help out. You need extra towels? Sure, I'll go run in the back and grab you an extra towel. I couldn't do that. I didn't have the keys for that. I didn't know where that was kept. Like, that was a different service completely, and I was out of the loop. So I couldn't even help my guests have a good time here. All I could tell them was, oh, the indoor pool's down the road, not down the road, down the hall, because they had an indoor pool, which might have made it, maybe that's why it felt so musty. Anyway, it was just not cool. So most of my time was actually spent sitting in the couch in the atrium with the person who was teaching me, who did not give any shits. She left me alone all, like, multiple times per night to go smoke outside. Her boyfriend came in and was hanging out one time. It was just like I mean, I guess that's the kind of personality you needed to work there, I guess. Which was decent, I guess, working the overnight shift. Most people are sleeping. I luckily, again, in my 3 days that I was there, I didn't have any emergencies. It was just like that, like extra towels. And I think someone was complaining that like their bed wasn't made or their room wasn't cleaned. Most of the time it was just normal questions. We did get a few phone calls asking, do you have any place to stay? And I was like, I'm sorry, we are all booked up. So, most of it really, I didn't do anything. I just sat around. And again, I hated that because, again, even at, let's, GameStop or whatever, Roxy Hero can say he used to like because I would be opening and I would do all the chores. The opening, I would do all the stuff. So when he comes in at noon to close and everything, all of his work would be done. He actually yelled at me to leave some work for him because I just did everything. And so after I did, inventory and all this kind of stuff, and I made sure everything was alphabetized and pretty and neat and everything, I literally would just clean the windows or vacuum. Like I did extra stuff because I can't just stand there and watch the clock go down. I learned Blockbuster was my first job and I did learn there's no idle time. Do something. There was nothing to do at the hotel. Even if I wanted to, it was specifically so much not my job to vacuum that I didn't even know where the vacuum was. So it's not like I could do more. Literally, I couldn't. And that is what also drove me nuts. So, yeah, so I got the call, and not even 5 minutes later, I told management, I said, I quit. I will work this day out so you don't have to worry about, finding a replacement for tonight. But I'm out of here. And I remember, yeah, sitting on the couch with my coworker. I was like, hey, thanks for teaching me yesterday. I quit. And she's like, yeah, not surprised. She didn't, it was any different which way. So, yeah, that was my time at a hotel. Would I ever work at a hotel again? Only in management, and I only say that not to be like, "Oh, I'm higher than whatever." I literally I just cannot do the nothing. Now, if I had time, like if it was acceptable that I was just running the phones and the register or whatever to check people in, and I could be on a computer, so like if I could, I'm not a writer necessarily, like I'm not an author, but like if it was like, hey, you can work on other stuff while you're here, so I could be editing videos or something while I was running the register, maybe yes, then at that point. But most of the time, employers don't want you to do other things while you're waiting to do your job. And so you're literally just standing and or sitting there, and that would drive me nuts. There's just not enough to do. And when there is something to do, it's because there's something bad happened. You never have a happy client, guest come to you. Yeah, maybe when they're checking out, they'll be like, "Oh, this was fantastic." But you don't get a phone call be like, "Hey, everything's going great." No, you get a phone call, "Hey, the we sprung a leak. The bathroom is flooding my room." Like that's not fun, you know? So I would maybe consider doing like the back end stuff or whatever, learning obviously how to check people in, but doing more of the back end stuff. But, you know, some places just aren't for you, and I just don't think I have the constitution for that. So more power to you if you do work in that sort of hotel atmosphere. I know a lot of people are in hospitality, and I love it on the surface, on the conceptually, because like that, I'm all about, client success manager if I'm not an entertainer and a voice actress. Hopefully I don't have to go back, but yeah, anyway. So, that is definitely a different work ethic and mindset, that you have to be that stable and put together, to just stand there. Maybe I did it wrong. Again, I only worked at one hotel for 3 days. So let me know if I've got it all wrong, if you love your job. But from where I was standing, yeah, I'll pass on that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was, I didn't really have that many stories because I only worked there for 3 days, but I'm going through some of these jobs that I've had. Some of them I have loved, some of them I have hated, but I have definitely worked a lot of places. And so we have a joke that I'm the James Franco of jobs, because he's like in every you know, kind of genre movie, and I am in every job possible looking for my calling, which of course is entertainment. So hopefully I have found my foothold and I can stay where I am, so that I don't have to come up with more of these stories. But this is just the first one, so let me know if you enjoyed it. I've got many more to follow. Remember that you are loved, you are worthy, and whatever you are struggling with today will pass. Until next time, stay crazy.